Hello, my name is M. Jason Graham, and this is Writing. This is Writing is brought to you by Upiri Experience 2018. Go to www.upiri.tv and reserve your ticket for the Upiri Escape Room Experience. Why not create a new Halloween tradition today? So we are in part 2 of our Credible Life plan. And as I said before, we are going to go over the 5 remaining categories so that you have an idea. So yesterday we talked about the path, the ambition key. Today we're going to focus on the character and how they relate to the other characters during the course of the story. So I'm going to step to the side here. As you can see, these are the categories that we're going to talk about: use of resources, episode obstacles, character limitations, foil interactions, and sensory style. So let's get started with the use of resources. So you all should have already recorded up top the community and the responsibilities. So you're simply going to restate those communities here, underneath here, and then the things that the character gets from those communities. So in this particular case, the community is the foreign country, because I haven't come up with a name for the country yet, because I'm not actually using an actual name of an African country. So I'm just going to label it foreign country. And so the resources that he will get from that are access to cultural information. And I always state an access to. Which is important, right? Because he's going to need to know the do's and don'ts of being in the country. And then he's also going to get access to the status, status of the royal family. Put royals. So put royals status. Access to royal status. Which is important as well. So that actually doesn't start actually when he's in the country. It starts beforehand, because remember, his best friend Maxwell is of royal blood as well. So he already has somebody who kind of vouches for him and speaks for him. So there's this first one. The next one is, I'm just going to call it Hollywood, for lack of a better term. And he gets access to access to mid-level power people, which is my catch-all phrase for people who are movers and shakers in Hollywood. And you can phrase this as much as you would like, but this relationship gets him in doors where regular people don't get in. And then also access to fame. So he's known, famous or infamous. You could put infamous. I didn't pronounce it right. I didn't write it right. But fame or infamy, um, if you like. But that's so basically Instagram fame for people knowing who he is, what kind of star he was. So, and this is not an exhaustive list. There could be more, but I just have space for this on the board here. So, and then the last one is the ASL community. This gives him access to internal processes. Internal processes, and then also cultural info. Okay, so we have the three communities, and these are the three communities that he begins with um, during the course of the adventure. And of course, if you wanted to detail the communities that he comes into in Act Two, then you could do that as well. But I'm just doing the first act with capacity because it's really important that you be able to show what he's capable of in that first act, so everything makes sense. So we go from use of resources to episode obstacles. Okay, so here, these are the obstacles in the episode. Remember, it's any obstacles that any character in his position would face, not him specifically. That comes next. So, stuff right off the bat is language and culture. You could probably put those under the same one, but the the ASL certificate, we know that the certification cert. Um, he may have some visa problems because of how he showed out in Canada when he snapped. So that's a possibility. And then of course, as always, um, what I like to call the stupid American syndrome. So the idea that we think that we know everything or we expect people to cater to us, the whole speak English mentality while people are in our country, and then when we go to other countries, we expect them to cater to us and don't hold the same standard. So these are the 5 things that I came up with. Obviously, you could come up with more, but yeah, that is it. So the next one is character limitations. And this is stuff that is specific to the character, but not including their stumbling block. Okay, this is kind of up there. So, character limitations. I try to do categories. So, I feel like if you can get one from each category, you're good. So, physical, and just like the character creation sheet. So, physical, and then social, and then psychological. And I know Psychological. So let's do good. So a physical one is he's not like buff. He's not really particularly healthy. So he is like skinny fat, you could say. So somebody who looks skinny, but they actually have a high amount of body fat. So I would just put unhealthy BP BFP, which is body fat percentage. So we know exactly what that is. Socially, so he's gonna have a problem because he's openly bisexual, or he doesn't categorize himself as that, but he also doesn't shy away from it as well. And then the psychological one is issues with female authority. So, which of course is going to run him into plenty of problems with the Queen Mother. But these are the character limitations, and you can see for the most part they don't have anything to do with his stumbling block. So that one is done. We are going to go with the next one is foil interactions. And of course, this is dealing with the individual foils and how he deals with them. So those foils, and this is the initial foils in the first act. So those foils are Maxwell, Sandy, and Dawson. All right. Maxwell, their relationship is good. They're like family. Like close family, not family that hates each other. With Sandy, it's contested. And you can use whatever descriptions you want to, just so it's clear in your head. It's contested. Remember, she's a female authority figure because she's his manager, so he has problems. And so I put trust issues. And it's both ways. That's what they feel about one another. And then finally, Dawson. With Dawson is the homie, but Dawson is trade. So it's a business before pleasure type of situation. So there's always some kind of exchange that's happening. Okay, so it's a trade. And trade is the right word for it. Trade exchange. I like you, but I don't do favors. So that's a breakdown of the foil interactions. So you're clear about that stuff before you even get started. Uh, so the final thing is, ooh, pardon me, sensory style. So sensory style is kind of fun. It's a way of you describing the protagonist or the antagonist. And the key thing for this is that you don't want you when you look at both of their sheets and you look at both of their sensory styles, you want them to have a unity of not opposites, just like you have a difference, the difference in um, their purpose and expectation. You want to reflect that in their sensory style as well. And so the categories for those are visual, audio, olfactory, and I'll explain what some of these are. Um, Tactile, and oral. Okay, so visual is pretty simple. What does the character look like? What do they wear? What is their personal sense of style? And so visually, um, he dresses, and his style is androgynous. That's not the way you spell that word, I'm sure. So androgynous is how he dresses, which is going to be very interesting for um, to see this character as an African American. What he sounds like, his voice is forward and pinched. Okay, so he kind of sounds like the black guy after they get out of business school, because they think they're supposed to sound forward and pinched, but that's his natural voice. Of course, he's as an actor, he's able to change that up when he needs to. So, but this is his natural voice. Olfactory. Olfactory has to do with sense of smell and taste, and so when you come up upon him, generally he smells like weed, and then whatever the um, hip cologne is. And I don't know how to spell cologne. There's probably an A in there, actually. G. I think I'm close. So, weed and cologne basically is what he smells like at the beginning of our story, and then tactile. So, what does he feel like? What does it look like he feels like? He's well. We said that he is he has a high body fat percentage, but he's kind of thin. So he's kind of like he looks a bit cuddly. Cuddly. And light to touch. And then orally, we're talking about energy. What does his energy look like? And it feels like he's on the verge, on the verge of exploding. Okay, so you have an androgynous dressing person whose voice is forward and pinched, who smells like weed and cologne, who looks cuddly to touch, but gives off an energy that he's at the verge of exploding. I think that that's kind of compelling. It's going to be interesting to see uh, with the Queen Mother. So, there you have it, part 2 of the life plan for Drayvon Vincent. I will go ahead and post this. I try to post this weekend, by next Wednesday at the very latest, uh, so that you can see what a full sheet looks like, hopefully. And you'll have some idea. And then I'll also make the sheet available for you online so that you can copy it and download it and use it for your characters in your story. My name is M. Jason Graham, and this is Writing. This is Writing is brought to you by the Upiri Experience 2018. Go to www.upiri.tv and reserve your ticket for the Upiri Escape Room Experience. Start a new Halloween tradition today. I'll see you next time.